This is the Seahawkers Podcast, episode 392. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
Joining you today, and still mad. I went back and rewatched that Raiders game yesterday, and man, what a winnable game that they just let slip right through their fingers. Bummer.
It's a bummer because all this past week or so, I was frustrated, I guess, because everybody was on this San Francisco hype train as the Niners are rolling ever since they got Christian McCaffrey, and everybody just pointing to the fact that the Niners were leading the division, although they had a share of the lead of the division because the scores were tied, but they held the tiebreaker just by the sole fact that they won the Seahawks game earlier in the season. But nobody was pointing out the fact that we still have another game coming up against San Francisco, which will determine the tiebreaker, or if it's, at least 50-50. And so I was counting on that Raiders win and continuing to roll for these next couple games so we could get to the Niners game, still be tied. And then when we beat them down, then we take sole position in first place in the NFC West. But all of those dreams, I think, because of that, they were dashed in that loss to the Raiders.
I don't know that it's all dashed, that's for sure, but it just depends on who you're listening to. It depends on who you're listening to, right? If you are listening to most of the national media outlets, then it's a foregone conclusion. The Niners are running away with this division. I mean, that was cute by the Seahawks, and we're all moving on, right? But the flip side of this is that the 49ers aren't invincible. Don't get me, twisted here. The defense for the Niners is playing excellent football right now, and they're healthy, short of, I think, at least one D tackle, maybe two, but they're rolling on defense. But then again, you start looking at them offensively after the CMC trade. It's not like they're a juggernaut, and Jimmy's just kind of barely getting by, and they're not putting up a ton of points. So there's going to be a day that comes and bites them in the butt, and they don't have a great track record of being healthy. So I think at some point here, maybe you don't hop right into that first place seat if you beat them the second time. Maybe it takes you back to another half game closer or whatever. But at some point they're going to lose, and you can kind of keep stacking up wins here, and they've got a nice opportunity next week. So I'm not ready to write it off. And
stacking up wins? What are you talking about? Stacking up wins? The season's over for the Seahawks. It's practically just may as well be playing for that second terrible draft pick, because you lost 2 games in a row. The season's over. They're going to go 6-11. Pack it up now.
Maybe. I mean, that is a possibility, but I think it's unlikely. I was texting a little bit back and forth with executive producer, the DCH, our reverse Jinx Meister, after the game. And, kind of his first gut reaction was, this team is just reverted back to right what we thought they were going to be. And here it is. And, here we go. And it's like, well, I mean, I totally get that feeling, and I definitely had it for a minute. But with that said, no, they haven't reverted back to the team that we thought they were going to be. I mean, if you had told me at the beginning of the year that they would lose in overtime to the Raiders by, 40-34? Was that the final score?
Yeah.
And that the only thing that was really effective throughout the game, of all the different phases of the game, was Geno Smith in the passing game. Well, you would have laughed your face off. You'd have been like, what? No, that's not how it's going to be. We can't rely on that.
Wait, you're still high on Geno after this game? I thought that after this performance, because Geno couldn't get it done in the final moments, that you may as well just be drafting a quarterback now at the end of the year anyway.
Look, if they do end up drafting a quarterback at the end of this year, I'm okay with it. But then again, Geno was the bigger, him and DK were probably the 2 biggest bright spots yesterday. And he's really still playing well. I mean, he threw 2 touchdowns.
I like how you say yesterday because you just rewatched the game yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. They played again yesterday. They lost again 40-34. I don't know how they made all the same exact mistakes.
You're still mad.
Yeah. But yeah, it's one of those things where, I'm still with Geno. And I know you say that tongue in cheek for sure. But yeah, a lot of the national media is like, oh, right, there it is. Okay. Yep. Geno's still whatever he is. And it's like, well, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Tom Brady. If your right tackle gets walked back right into your lap in crunch time twice to cause a sack, you're going to get sacked. Like, I don't know that that's a Geno problem. If the defense just makes a stop, I don't think that's a Geno problem. Early in the game, if they're going for it on 4th and 1 down by the goal line, they're like on the 15 or something like that, and they pick it up on a pass to Tyler Lockett, just to get drawn back because Phil Haynes was illegally downfield by a yard. It's just a lot of little things, right?
That you see when you watch this game again.
Yeah, or the fact that, it's not like Geno can make Noah Fant chip block on Max Crosby in a crucial moment where I couldn't believe the replay on that, because that was one of the things that we talked about in the post-game show, is that how do you not, with as much that you've seen from Crosby just coming after Geno and beating up Abe Lucas, how do you not chip him, or how do you not throw a screen in that direction? And they set up that exact play, but it was because that Fant doesn't chip. Crosby gets back there so quickly. The pass isn't on time as it could be. And so it's not quite of a big play in that moment as maybe it should. And it's a little frustrating.
It is. It was right there for him. Defense, if they just step up and, stop the bleeding just a little bit in the run game, they probably have a chance. If they don't turn the ball over on that fumble on the mesh point with Geno and Walker, they probably win this game. If they go for it on 4th and 5, their odds are a hell of a lot better to win this game at the end of the game. That one still sticks in my craw. I just think that was a gigantic coaching blunder, even going back and watching it again. So did the Raiders beat us? Yeah, they ran it right down our throat, and they stuffed the run for us and made us one-dimensional. But you put up 34 points, you ought to win the game. So, yeah, there's some frustrating things, but a lot of things to look forward to coming up next week, I'm sure, as well. So I'm not in the dumpster, but I'm still frustrated. Like, come on.
Oh yeah, this is absolutely a game to be frustrated over. When I was looking at these next games, though, realistically, looking at the Raiders, the Rams, and the Panthers, I was kind of looking at it as a 2-1 type schedule over 3 games. Like, it would be nice to be 3-0 over that stretch, but 2-1, I could have been okay with, and they're still on pace for that, right?
They're still on pace for it, but then again, you have all the weird things that happen in divisional games with the Rams coming up as tough a spot as they're in coming into this next week. And then you saw the Panthers go out there and just mollywomp the Broncos, and they have been playing a lot better since who's Steve Wilkes, the interim coach, right? And they're still a good defense, and, Darnold's getting some stuff done, and they're finding a way to move the ball on the ground with Hubbard and folks. And they've got some weapons in DJ Moore and those sort of guys. So, the Carolina Panthers game doesn't look so much of a slam dunk as it once did.
Right.
You could lose all 3 of these and then go out and beat the Chiefs. I mean, that's how weird this league is this year.
Yeah, it is weird. After the game, you were talking about how we might need to have a Quandre Diggs talk. I think we might need to have a Cody Barton talk, though.
Haven't we all season?
We have, but there was one statistic that John P. Gilbert at Field Goals pointed out in one of his post-game recaps. The Seahawks are 1-5 on the season when Cody Barton's on the field for 56 or more snaps. And they're perfect 5-0 when he plays 46 or fewer snaps. Now, there's a couple different ways you could look at this and say, well, fewer than 46 snaps, it's because the defense is doing a good job of keeping the defense off the field. They're controlling the clock better so that the defense doesn't have to play as many snaps. But then there's also the factor of, if Cody Barton's on the field a lot, it means they're playing more base, and he's just not that good.
I watched a YouTube breakdown of the Raiders running game from our matchup, and they show the last play, right? The 83-yard touchdown run by Jacobs. And
I thought about watching that video, and then I thought, you know what? I don't want the pain, but I'm glad you did.
Yeah, well, the one thing that was alarming is on that run, and I don't know if this was the call, if he's supposed to be blitzing or what exactly happened, but basically the run is to the right and in the B gap there, instead of having Barton as the weak side linebacker to come in after Brooks and then fill the hole, because it was one of those 2-back sets where the fullback is coming downhill, right? And he picks up Brooks. Instead of having Barton coming in and filling that hole behind him, Barton's over on the opposite side of the line, just pushing on the back of 2 of the defensive linemen, just doing nothing, like literally doing nothing. And you're like, is that, when they talk about fitting it up, is this what we're talking about? Is that the guy like literally has no idea what he's doing and does something completely unproductive on the field for that play? Is that what we're talking about? Because man alive, like, it was alarming when you saw it.
One blitz that I distinctively remember in this game was when they sent him, and it was a 5-man rush, and everybody, all the other offensive linemen picked up their dudes. And I think it was part of the fact, and I'm curious to know with the rewatch if you did see some more stunts or anything by the defensive line, but Cody Barton blitzes and he just runs straight into the arms of the left guard and gets just absolutely no pressure at all. They rush 5 and it's completely unproductive.
Yeah. And on the rewatch, I wish I would have paid more attention to stunts, because that was one of the things I wanted to, and I did not.
I remember you saying that.
I know. And listen to Pete's presser, though, too. I mean, he's like, and our stunts didn't quite get there and things like that. So, I mean, obviously they did a little bit, but I think he knows that they've got to gin up the pressure a little bit more than they had hoped. I mean, I love Nwosu. He's been a great pickup and everything, but he's not a Max Crosby or one of the Boses or somebody like that, right? I mean, he's a hell of a player. And
Darrell Taylor hasn't worked into the guy that we expected him to.
He really hasn't. You heard Pete in his presser talk about that too, and being like, yeah, I know he's frustrated, but this is what we're doing. Like, he's going to have to just prove himself as a pass rusher first before he gets back out there doing other things. So he's just going to have patience. He's got to pick up his game.
Yeah, we see a lot more Bruce Irvin, I feel like.
Yeah, and that's how you know the defensive line isn't where it needs to be talent-wise, is when you bring in Bruce Irvin off the street and he might be your most consistent, best edge defender.
Yeah, it's kind of feeling that way at this point.
Or at least number 2 to Nwosu, right?
Yeah, and that was the other thing, right? That coming out of the Tampa Bay game, that, Brian Monet wasn't out there. They didn't really plan to be for the team to be as run heavy. Well, they did know that this team was going to be a little more run heavy. Now, they did want to shift some of that focus to Devontae Adams, but still, it wasn't the difference of having bigger dudes on the defensive line for this game.
No, they just got pushed around, and they really just, I don't know. I still, defensive football, especially in the trenches as a layman, is maybe one of the hardest things to watch and feel like what's going on exactly, because you see them come out and have 4 games in a row of really effective play. And it's like, wait, now we have 2 clunkers again. And once again, this Raiders game, I don't know if it did to you or not, but it felt much to me like the Atlanta game, the New Orleans game, right? Just games that you should have had, but the defense came up just a little too lame.
Yeah, it felt exactly like those ones did. And in the same way that with Tampa, you were thinking, okay, well, it's a team that has the ability to play well. They got Tom Brady, but all of those games that you mentioned, Atlanta, New Orleans, the Raiders, they're games that I had the expectation that we'd win. And it wasn't Taysom Hill or Cordell Patterson or Josh Jacobs that I think would be beating this defense.
I mean, I was afraid of Cordell. I wasn't as afraid of Jacobs, only because this season, McDaniels hasn't been a guy that's really utilized him as much as maybe he should have, especially early in the year. So you're kind of hoping that he would sort of forget about it. If you got up 2 scores, then I think that's probably a totally different game, but you end up turning it over and all those
kicking field goals early rather than getting touchdowns.
Yep. And it just changes the whole complexity of the game. And that's where it falls on the offense, right? Like, they could have put this away early. They had the opportunities. They could have capitalized, but they didn't. And then late, they had 2 opportunities to really get it done, and they don't. So, I mean, it's a total team loss at the end of the day, but just so right there to be had.
I mean, it's a total team loss in the sense of I feel like I can put blame on a ton of different places, coaching, and we talked about some of the well, I guess that's not part of the team, but some of the calls that went against them late in the game, but that at least had an impact on them in some way. The defense obviously could have been better, and I think Geno could have been better. Like I wanted him to get that game-winning drive, and so many of those passes at the end of the game were just coming up short. So I don't know if it's a getting tight at the end of the game type issue that why you would throw those so short. One of the things that was so impressive, I was seeing today, that Geno Smith is top 4. Like if the season were to end today, he would finish top 4 all time in completion percentage for the season.
Yeah.
And number 1, 2, and 3 are all Drew Brees, and number 5 is Drew Brees.
Well, there you go. Russell always wanted to be Drew Brees, but turns out Geno's closer to the bill. And I think it's all going to come together at some point. Again, this year, there's just so many question marks in certain places in the interior of both of the lines, whether it's the offensive or the defensive line, that can get exploited any given game. And that's why they're 6-5 rather than 8-3.
And I don't think that in those final moments it should be all up to Geno either. I think that they need to at least have a run game that's effective enough that if you're in those 2nd and 5, 3rd and 3 type situations, you're ending up having to throw the ball anyway because you can't trust the run game well enough to pick up those yards and move the chains when you need to.
There's a reason why Crosby was coming off the line like a Tasmanian devil towards the end of the game.
Yeah, he didn't have to worry about the run.
Didn't have to worry about it. And that's when you hear Pete talk about, we got to get back to balance. We got to get this thing balanced out and all that. And he's 100% right. And you saw Carr didn't have to do a whole hell of a lot in that game.
No. And the thing is that when he did drop back to pass, he had all the time in the world.
All the time in the world. Give Geno that kind of time and tell me that you don't win 50-40,
Yeah, he'll be up around 78%, 80% completion percentage with that kind of time.
Absolutely, especially with the weapons running around out there. Some real bright spots along the way. DK's game, I don't think we talked nearly as much about with the 11 receptions. I mean, he really was the straw that stirred the drink offensively all day. He played tough most of the day. Probably should have gone up and got that interception that was overturned in the end zone. You saw Geno after the play, like kind of motioning up.
Yeah, go
DK,
up for it. I'm throwing it up to you.
Get up there. Yeah, like that's why I threw it up there. That's how we do it in practice, right? But overall, I mean, he played a hell of a game. Tyler came up with his customary big catches. The one route that he stopped running on because he bumped into the linebacker, you won't see that again. I promise you that. But overall, Tyler was good. Goodwin had the nice catch. Not enough out of the tight ends.
Yeah, Tyler on that route was probably wondering, do I flop now after I run into him, or do I keep going? And he was in that in-between space where he didn't do either. And exactly the interception.
Yep.
We actually haven't seen a whole lot of Tyler flops this year.
No, we haven't. But, maybe maybe this year he's just didn't want to be up for the Academy Award of Best Actor on a field. Yeah.
Anything else you want to hit on before we move on?
Oh, we should probably talk about Darrell Taylor getting confused and running around out on the field because we missed that.
That's true.
In the post game.
Well, everybody missed that during the game. It wasn't until afterward that we saw on social media, maybe even toward later in the evening, that someone tweeted it out that Darrell Taylor and it was at the very beginning of the game on the Quandre Diggs interception with about 5 seconds into the game, he just runs onto the field and he sells it so well because he just acts like he's, kind of, it was like he was careful enough, not to get too involved in it, but involved enough to look like he was supposed to be out there.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny, man. I don't know that I've ever seen that.
I've never seen that.
Yeah. And he said he got so hyped that he just ended up out on the field. And then he was like, oh no, I'm on the field.
I mean, at least I guess the positive part was that he had his helmet on, because then it would have really been obvious if he would have run on just in celebration. Because I think that was what Pete was saying when he was questioned about it on Monday after the game, is that Darrell just got so excited he wanted to run out there and celebrate it, and then realized that the play was still going. And he did say that we're going to find out, or that he would let us know what the consequences of that are.
Right.
I'm curious to find out if it's a fine type situation, or I don't even know what penalty necessarily they would have called. If you
Too
call
many men on the field?
Yeah, they could have called too many men on the field. Generally, that comes as the play is starting. I suppose you could call sideline interference like they do with the coaches when that happens.
Maybe they just call it a personal foul.
Or unsportsmanlike conduct. There is a penalty in the books for a palpably unfair act.
Oh,
and the reason why this is in the rule book is, I guess, way back in the 40s, like some dude came off the sideline as just a guy running wide open, heading toward the end zone, and just came off the sideline and took out the dude's legs. So under this rule, they have the discretion to award the team. Like, essentially, the officials can come up with whatever penalty they think is fit for what occurred on the field. Now, it was after the interception. See, that's the other part about it, is that it happened after the interception. So I feel like the interception would have counted, but maybe they would have had some negative yardage attached to it that maybe would have moved them back. And who knows? Maybe then they don't get the 7 points then, and we're talking about a completely different game because of how it starts off. So, yeah, as much as we want to complain about the officiating after the game, this was a big call that they missed.
Yeah, I want them to put that in the playbook, man. I think you could get away with that in a playoff game, like late when everybody's thinking about all sorts of other stuff.
Especially in that moment with an interception, you're watching for blocks in the back. You're watching for, just
holds.
all those sorts of things.
The quarterback, right?
And the officials are changing directions from the play going the one direction for offense, and then all of a sudden you're looking toward the other defense. So he came onto the field where really it was probably a blind spot for a lot of the referees.
I would imagine it'd be on a lot of plays, to be honest. Like, you just aren't expecting that sort of thing. Like, as an official, I'm sure you're being like, well, surely they know not to come out onto the field and just start playing.
Well, maybe they're going to be watching for it a little more often now. Maybe we won't be able to get away with it.
I doubt it. True. Yeah, they still can't figure out what a catch is. So,
yeah, we saw a lot of that, not just in the Seahawks game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with that DK, after the fact, I don't have a problem with the call. I have a problem with the amount of time that it took.
Yeah.
Because they're in their 2-minute offense, and they took more than 10 minutes trying to review that call when, okay, if it's clear and obvious, make the call because you see the ball come loose at the end and say, okay, we looked at the play twice. It comes loose at the end. We consider that clear and obvious. Let's get back to playing this game. But instead, every single frame over and over again. And I'd just rather have the decision quicker.
You're preaching to the choir on this one because like I joked on the post-game pod, they literally took more time studying that than most people did the Zapruder film, right? After the JFK assassination. Just ridiculous, the amount of, there must have been as much analysis put into the TikTok alien craft video that the Navy sent back as they did the DK Metcalf catch. I mean, did they call the Pentagon and have them get their best forensic analyzers on such catfish? It seemed like it. It was unbelievable because you're right. The clear and obvious part of it is the frustrating part because you had to hunt a long time to find that bobble at the end. I just don't see them doing that on the regular for most things. Like, that was the Rams. It'd be moving on. If it were, that said, it still was the right call. The ball was coming out, right, as he slides out of bounds.
Right.
But golly.
If it were outside of the 2 minutes, it would have just gone unnoticed because I don't think that the Raiders wouldn't have challenged it. And it just seemed like the call on the field was correct.
Yeah.
So
9 times out of 10, it would have been.
Just frustrating. Yeah.
But we saw it elsewhere in the league too, right? And the Vikings Patriots game where was it the Patriots tight end who he crossed the goal line, but as he was going to the ground, it looked like the ball, he didn't have complete control of it, but he had his hand under the ball the whole time and the ball looked like it never touched the ground, but yet it was clear and obvious that enough to overturn it to the officials. I think they need to really focus on this clear and obvious part of the actual rule. I'm not making that up, right? Clear and obvious is part of the rule as to what you're looking for in the replay.
From my understanding is that it had to be, clear and obvious or overwhelming evidence, right, to overturn the call. And it's just not very consistently applied. Or maybe there needs to be a timer on how long a review takes, because not just the DK one, but I don't know how many times I've been sitting watching football and been like, we seriously don't have this worked out by now. Like I'm literally sitting in a cabin in Montana and I can figure out that, yes, this is what needs to happen. It needs to be on this yard line. The clock needs to be here and it's whoever's ball and, rock and roll. Like I don't understand how it takes the type of time that it does oftentimes. I just don't get it.
I don't either. Yeah, if clear and obvious is a factor, it should be clear and obvious within a minute of looking at different angles.
Yep, I was thinking 2 minute, 2 minutes, somewhere in there.
Yeah. You can't get it figured out by then.
Didn't we have a timer on it at one point when they first instituted replay? I seem to remember there being a timer with the maybe I'm dreaming it up. It's been so long.
I don't recall that, but that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. So
and maybe it was just a thing that the TV announcers did just to show like how much time, but
that feels a little more right. Because I remember that being a big topic when they came in with the replay again. But
because remember when they would go off the field to review in their own little booth?
Yeah.
I thought, gosh.
Yeah, they had like an arcade game on the side that they'd stick their head into. Yeah.
Yeah, before they figured out, we have this technology that we can just put it on a tablet and bring it out on the field.
Yeah, no, I just figured they were banging out a couple levels of Miss Pac-Man or something when they went under there, because as long as it took.
High score in 2 minutes, go.
Go.
Well, the Darrell Taylor play was probably the most fun part of this game after the fact to be able to relive, but that was about it.
Yeah. Most fun part after the fact of this game was knowing the Broncos had lost and that we currently hold the 3rd pick in the NFL draft coming up. So
still, it's making me smile every time I think about it.
Yeah, it's not going to get better either.
Another thing that's making me smile, I hear the crinkling can of liquid death on your end there, Adam.
I surely do. Came out here to the Hobo Shack, and I knew that if I didn't have something to murder the thirst in the back of my throat throughout doing this show, like it just started to get scratchy. I might not make it through. So thank God, I've got this mountain water in a can right here, and it's propelling the show forward.
An untrained eye, like if it were not me, they might just think that you have a tall boy of beer that is in your Hobo Shack.
And given my reputation, right? Yeah.
But I know that there's this new water brand out there that looks just like it, and they come in still, sparkling, 3 different flavors. And I know, let's see, that must be just the still water can.
It sure is, man. And it's just hitting the spot just right.
You can go plain water, or you can go the flavored water that has 3 grams of agave nectar. Just gives it a little natural sweetness to it, which is nice.
I would enjoy the lime a lot more, but I honestly don't get much of a chance to drink them when they show up because Miss Brittany, the acid queen, she just loves those things. They're gone before I can even blink. Like I got 1 out of the case last time.
Well, you might have to go find some more. You got to use the store locator tool and find Liquid Death at your local Albertsons, Fred Meyer, Target, or Chevron Extra Mile, or you can find Liquid Death at a retailer near you with that store locator tool at liquiddeath.com/Hawkra. That's liquiddeath.com/Hawkra, HAWKRA.
That store locator, it might have saved my relationship because she kept drinking them so damn fast and I couldn't get it. I was like, look, if you like them so much, get on the store locator. Because she asked, well, where do I get them? It's like, well, you can get on the store locator. Go to liquiddeath.com/Hawkra. and you can find it right, here close to where we live. It saved the whole fight. It was fantastic.
This game coming up against the Rams, Adam, as happy as it makes me to think about that Russell Wilson draft pick that we're going to be getting at the end of the year, I don't know if it's enough to make me forget about just all of the nonsense that the Seahawks have had to face when going up against the Rams over these years. Like I'm legit nervous going into this game, even though I know that I shouldn't be, because Cooper Kupp's not playing. Allen Robinson's out at receiver. Like Van Jefferson's their best pass catcher coming into this game. They don't even have Matt Stafford to throw the ball to him. Bryce Perkins, or I don't even know if that's his real name.
That's his real name. Yeah.
It sounds made up. And they have a 5th round draft pick who is sharing the workload with Cam Akers because they decided to kick Henderson off the team this year randomly. Aaron Donald is out. He's already been ruled out for Sunday because he has a high ankle sprain. Jalen Ramsey's given up touchdown passes to Travis Kelce, which I guess that's like an average cornerback thing to do at this point.
He's human.
He is human. And maybe the best player on their defense right now is former Seahawks linebacker Bobby Wagner.
Who? I know there's a Magner on that team, but
a Bobby Wagner.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not aware of this guy's history and everything. Like we obviously had Bobby Wagner for a long time, but
right, yeah. Maybe it's just because the name is so similar and the numbers are backwards. I get them confused with our Bobby Wagner.
Yeah, Bobby's return, right? Are we in LA or in Seattle for this one? It's in Seattle, right?
Well, it's a home game, but it's a home game in Los Angeles.
What?
We're playing in Los Angeles, but it will be a home game because it's going to be packed with Seahawks fans in Los Angeles.
Okay. Gotcha. I was like, wait, what? Is this like one of those Mexico City things or something? Like I wasn't getting, no, you're right on that. So yeah, first time that we get to watch Bobby play against us. Probably could have used him this year when it's all said and done. Going in the year, I mean, that was part of the Tankapalooza, right? It's like, well, why waste another year of Bobby when, that's not very fair to him. Let him go on and do his thing. Like the Rams should trade him back right now for like a bag of footballs just to let Bobby play out the rest of the year on a winning team.
They can't trade him, but they could. They should release him. Yeah, it's past the trade deadline.
Okay. Yep. No, they should. They should just release him.
Release him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do the man a solid. He's a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm. He can come back home. He can actually play in another playoff game with the Seahawks this season.
He can come back home. They can bring KJ back out onto the field to replace Barton, and we're going to make a run.
Yeah, we can just go back to playing 4-3 style defense. We can actually stop the run.
Do you really think it'd be at all worse with Wags and KJ out there than it is now in terms of the run stuff?
Of course not. We have 34-year-old Bruce Irvin out there leading the charge on the defensive line. We may as well add some more Super Bowl 48 alums.
Why not? Yeah. Everybody says how much this reminds everybody of 2012. Like,
bring back Clinton McDonald. I don't think he's in the NFL right now.
Right.
Brandon Meebane.
Probably around. Yeah.
It's got to be better. It's got to be better somehow.
Yeah.
Those guys have at least can finish off the regular season.
Ryan Neal's hurt. I mean, Earl needs something to do.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Why? You haven't heard from Earl for a while. He may have gotten his stuff straightened out for all you know.
That's true. Hey, Sherman could play safety, right?
You would think.
Why not?
I don't think he wants to. He's having a good time doing what he's doing, man.
Yeah, I suppose. Not having to chase around anybody's dad, right?
That's exactly right. And not only that, but that's funny every time. He's having the perfect timing for making the transition into his media career with his background with Russ and the Seahawks and having everything happen the way that it did. It's put a lot of spotlight right back on him, and good for him, man.
So I'm still super nervous about this game.
You should be.
I don't feel like I'm supposed to be, because when I look at the line on the game, it tells me that we should have this game in hand, like well in hand, because when I look at the early games and the early afternoon games, not because I think the Cowboys game, like they're huge favorites to win. because of what they're playing the Colts. But take that off the table. And the two biggest favorites on the day are the Baltimore Ravens over the Denver Broncos as Baltimore plays at home.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the next most favored team is the Seattle Seahawks down in LA, 7.5 point favorites over the Rams.
Logically speaking, the Seahawks should be 14-point favorites over the Rams going into this game. I mean, they are so banged up and they are so bad this year. And the Hawks are they might be, I don't know, one of the bottom third of the good teams. Maybe they're middling of the pack. Maybe you'd say that of the good teams.
They're probably middle of the pack right now. Yeah.
Of the good team. Sure. Okay. Yeah. They should beat the brakes off of the Rams down there in other Seattle. I didn't even think about the fan aspect going into this game, mainly because I never really think about LA fans to begin with, but there's definitely going to be none of them there. They're all such front runners. I mean, they've had to have all sold their tickets. It's going to be a sea of 12s, I think, just dominating that game. It's that should be really fun.
Oh, it's so bad. Season ticket holders selling their tickets. The Rams are advocating that the owners of season tickets donate those tickets rather than selling them, because they know if they sell them, they end up in the hands of the opposition. Whereas if they donate them, then maybe they can give them out to local groups that might be, I don't know, indifferent about the Rams.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, maybe people are in search of fire starter down there in LA. Like, you could use a ticket as a fire starter, I guess.
Well, but then nobody shows up and then those seats go empty, and that's a bonus for the Rams too.
That's a bonus for the Rams? Nah, that'd be a bonus.
It's a bonus for the Rams to have empty seats over seats filled with opposing fans.
Whew, I don't think so, man. That's still a bad look on TV, right? I mean, you can only XFL shoot this so many different ways, right? Where you kind of keep the stands out of the frame.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if it would make that much of a difference, but yeah. I don't think we're talking about going back to COVID times in the stands.
It might have been if they had to try to give those tickets away. That's for sure. Might as well let some 12s in. But I'm just as nervous for this game as you are, because I just can remember so many times, the Steven Jackson, Jeff Fisher era St. Louis Rams coming in with no business winning. None. They were a dumpster fire. Maybe Nick Foles happened to be a quarterback, injured Sam Bradford, whatever it was, and end up losing time and again. I've seen it too many damn times.
If they don't have their run game issues solved for this game, and they're not able to stop Perkins from running the football as quarterback, Cam Akers running the football, then this game is going to be very close. And it's interesting to even look at one of the keys to victory for Seattle that's at least played out statistically so far. Seattle's 6-0 when they hold the opponent to 145 rushing yards or less. 145 is still a pretty big number.
It's a big ass number, because I was sitting here just before you put that out thinking, well, what would the over under be if I were a betting man on this one, right? Like for Rams rushing yards on the day. And I was thinking the number would probably be around 125. That, I mean, because even with Cam Akers and, 5th round backup and Bryce Perkins and the banged up offensive line and all that stuff, like I could just see these guys just running around I could just see it. I could just see it running it down our throats still, and just being an embarrassment.
Well, the one thing that gives me a little bit of hope then, though, is that the most that the Rams have run in any game this season was against the New Orleans Saints, when they rushed for 148 yards. That was their highest total.
Gotcha.
So it's right around that 145 mark.
Okay, so keep them under 145 and keep Barton off the field. It's a guaranteed win.
Guaranteed win.
Okay.
Well, not Barton off the field, but fewer than
off the
40
field's
snaps
fine.
or something.
Off the field's totally fine.
Just to be totally safe.
Yeah. I mean, if you're 5-0 with them, 46% or less or whatever it was, right? Imagine you could be 13-0 if you didn't play them at all, right?
That's it. You got to keep Barton off the field.
man, he's got to be feeling that this next draft probably isn't going to look good for him.
Oh, they've got to draft at least one linebacker, maybe two.
Yeah.
Maybe three if you're counting 3-4 pass rushing linebackers.
I mean, holy smokes. I'd be surprised if they don't spend the lion's share of the draft picks on defense.
And we're going to have quite a few in the top 50 and even the top 100.
Right. I was thinking the only bummer about beating the Rams and beating them handily would be, you'd help their draft stock, but they don't have any draft picks, so it doesn't matter.
To that point, though, you actually could hurt the Seahawks draft pick because even though they're sending their draft pick to Detroit, it's still their draft pick. So it's based off of their schedule.
Correct.
And as of right now, the Detroit Lions have the Rams pick, which is the number 4 overall pick. So Rams at 3-8, Broncos at 3-8. You need the Rams to continue to lose, and then you actually need the Rams beating the Broncos on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
That's going to be one of the games that helps decide how that shapes out in terms of draft position.
They're going to lose that game just to screw us, right? You know it.
You think?
Yeah. This rivalry is petty as hell.
You think the pettiness of the rivalry over it's somehow able to overcome the Let's Ride curse?
Well, I mean, the Let's Ride curse might still be able to overcome a tank. It's growing more powerful by the day. That's for sure.
Should we worry about Bryce Perkins at all? Because just knowing, because I've been thinking about this.
Okay.
Backup quarterbacks for the Seahawks have been a kind of kryptonite.
I know.
And Bryce Perkins is an obvious, I feel like they've gone 2 levels deep into their backup quarterback pocket just to ensure that there's no question whether or not that the Seahawks are facing a backup level quarterback.
True. And ordinarily, I would totally agree with you on this because I did watch them lose to no thumb Jared Goff in a playoff game and you get beat up by Colt McCoy from the Cards and the Giants. And who was that from? We figured out who it was from the Packers, that Brett Hundley. That's what it was. Come in and beat the brakes off us a time or two. I could see it, but, and here's the big caveat that I'd put out there. There's no Cooper Kupp. And
right.
I think that makes all the difference. I really do.
You don't think Stonehands Tyler Higbee is going to have this extraordinary 15 catch, 150 yard afternoon?
Catfish you. You just put that out into the ether and you know that's going to happen. You know that you all heard it here, right here. Brandon Schultz just made Tyler Higbee have a big game.
It's because of this and the Seahawks and the Rams rivalry that I've been thinking of all the possible ways that this team could lose. And that's what I come to.
I like Higbee more than you do, but yeah, he's one of those guys that does have the potential to go off.
He's actually improved his catching a lot over his early years with the Rams.
Oh, big time, man. Yeah. So thanks a lot for invoking that.
The disparity though, with Bryce Perkins, tell me that this is not something that the Seahawks should be able to exploit. One, the left side of the Rams line is completely decimated. They've got their 3rd string left tackle in at this point, going up against Bruce Irvin. That left tackle gave up 5 pressures this past week in the game against the Chiefs. And just looking at the numbers for Bryce Perkins, passer rating when clean, 96.2. That's okay for a backup level quarterback to have a 90s passer rating if you can keep a clean pocket. Passer rating under pressure, 5.6.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
If you don't think that the Seahawks should do just 0 blitzes all day long,
yeah,
why not?
What's the worst that's going to happen? You give up 3 huge touchdowns,
right? To Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, that's the worst case scenario, right? If that's the worst case scenario, all you have to do is score 22 points.
Yeah, and they've consistently been scoring 26 or more.
Yeah. I love it, man. Yeah, bring the house. I would expect them to. A lot more corner blitzes, just things like that. I'd be surprised if they don't.
Because that's one of my worries is that they don't do that when it seems so obvious that they should. Like they're going to be, after coming off of the being blown up by Jacobs, that they're going to be so focused on the run that they don't rush the passer enough.
I guess it all depends too how the Rams game plan goes. I mean, if I'm Sean McVay, how often am I really putting it in the air?
That's another aspect to it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Triple option all day long.
Why wouldn't you? I don't know why you wouldn't. It's a lot like when we talked about the Raiders game and with Adams, and it was like, yeah, get him matched up on Kobe or the linebackers. Go after it all day. And while it wasn't always Adams, that's exactly where they targeted the entire game. The linebackers and Kobe. And Mike Jackson if he was playing soft. And that was it.
That was it. Those were all the Devontae Adams sketches. You just broke it down right there.
That was their entire passing offense. I don't blame them.
So, yeah, I'm still nervous after talking this through.
Well, it's a little bit of Seahawks PTSD that sneaks in, right? From just years past and not just recent past, too, with the Rams having played well last year. But
I also wouldn't be surprised if they won 31-10.
It could definitely go that way. And I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Sean McVay get hit in the face with another helmet again. That'd be cool.
If you haven't seen that video out online, it's one of those, because you know that he didn't get seriously hurt, but he's just walking and not paying attention. You have a player who's coming off the sideline, who's just put on his helmet and is looking down, not paying attention, and just right across Sean McVay's chin on his way out to the field.
Yeah, it's great. And I had a realization after watching that too, Brandon. That was a very impactful video for me. You know how they have that tower in San Francisco that's like slowly, it's a Millennium Tower, I think, that's like slowly kind of tipping over. They can't quite figure out how to shore everything up because they built it on a bunch of sand or something. Catfish! Sean McVay gets hit in the face. You know what his hair does? Boop! Nothing. It's just dead straight. Doesn't move, doesn't wiggle, doesn't anything. All they have to do is go raid Sean McVay's house, find his hair gel, and go pour it around the foundation of the Millennium Building. That catfish will stand straight up. It won't move.
There we go. Sean McVay's hair, solving all kinds of architectural issues.
That's exactly right.
You can get it over to Italy and the Leaning Tower. You just prop it up with Sean McVay's hair gel.
Yeah, like we're still trying to figure out how to make Roman concrete the way that they did because it's set in water and it stayed forever. It's probably some derivative of Sean McVay's hair gel.
I mean, the good news is that he does have a post NFL career laid out for him now. And if they're only able to win 3 to 5 games this year, maybe he starts looking at his other options.
It really, really feels like the breakup of this iteration of the Rams is on the horizon this offseason.
It's getting there.
They had to kind of talk Donald back in. They don't have any draft picks. Sean's front runner. He's not going to want to stay there and rebuild.
This could be it.
Stafford's elbow might be spaghetti. Yeah.
These could be the last 2 games that we see against the Sean McVay-led Rams.
So let's start it with a victory this Sunday over that bastard. I would love to see that. It'd be so cathartic.
Let's do it. Let's get this out of the way. Then we can get back on track to talking playoffs and moving ahead with the Seahawks. Like, I want to feel as excited as I was about the postseason that I was 3 weeks ago.
Oh, I still am. And knowing there's no Cup, there's no Donald, I feel pretty good about this game. I mean, Aaron Donald wakes me up in my sleep, man. Like I have nightmares of him on the regular.
He should take the rest of the season off.
That'd be great.
Because he
He's
deserves
got nothing
it.
left to prove. Yeah.
No. Well, they got to play. They're out of the playoffs.
Yeah. Just put his body through a lot. He had a long season last year.
He can think about whether or not he wants to come back next year during that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Take some time to reflect on how he doesn't want to come back.
Be perfect.
Be perfect.
Yeah. Aaron Donald should just listen to us. We got his whole next couple of years of life figured out for him. Because apparently that's what he needed. He hasn't been uber successful as a human all on his own otherwise.
Yeah, I know. I've had enough of it.
Yeah.
let's get to the second half of the show.
Oh, good. I'm sick of Aaron Donald.
Moving into the second half of the show, I guess one thing that we didn't talk about was just how badly the Chiefs beat the Rams, 26-10. Like, that would be the type of score that I'm really looking for our Seahawks. Now, it's very different. The Chiefs, an obvious Super Bowl contender. Patrick Mahomes contending for the MVP. Okay, maybe it's not that different as Geno Smith contending for MVP and Seahawks as a potential Super Bowl team. Although we don't have Chris Jones heading up the middle of our defensive line.
Yeah, that's a true fact.
Different.
It's a true fact. I did see an article because I clicked over on the Bleacher Report page for the Rams here today just to kind of see what the chatter is, right? What's going on over there? Like, see about what the 5 people that care about the Rams think about. And I happened across an article from last week, and basically the article was, is this just the week to jumpstart this Rams team? And then goes through a list of things that they would love to see happen against the Chiefs, and like Bryce Perkins going off, and the defense getting back to it, like all this stuff. It was such a pipe dream. It was damn near my do better, man. That was comical reading. It was like, really? Yeah, against Chiefs. Sure. Yep. You betcha.
We've had those pipe dream scenarios as Seahawks fans this year, so I guess I can't fault Rams fans too much for that. But
yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Because everything they
although
think
my
is
biggest
wrong.
pipe dream didn't have Geno leading us to a 6-5 record after the bye week either.
Nope. My biggest pipe dream was like 9 wins, eke into the playoffs.
So the Cardinals, they lost in the final moments to the Chargers as the Chargers.
They didn't lose. They got catfish.
What did Kyler mean by that when he said that? Did he mean? I'm glad you asked. I didn't know that you needed a Kyler. I did need an explanation because I saw the quote.
Yeah,
but I wasn't quite sure of the context. If he meant that if he meant it was a referee situation, if he meant it was an aggressiveness and play calling situation with the offense. Mm-hmm. Or if it was just that the Chargers just had their number.
Yeah. So I listened to what he had to say there, and I felt like I could kind of interpret that for you. Okay. Yeah. It sounded a lot like this. Hi, I'm Kyler Murray, and I suck balls of football, and I'm shorter than a 3rd grader. I can't see anything. My coach is a freaking douchebag. I don't know what's going on here. I can't study. I don't like to study. I just want to play video games. And if I could just play more video games, I'd probably win more football games. I hate Cliff. I hate this town. I hate my life. I just wish I would play baseball. I'm a crybaby. Catfish. Yes. We got catfish.
So I feel like that doesn't really help me. I enjoy the the interpretation.
Yeah, no, that's I can't believe you didn't hear that when.
No, there was a lot of subtext within that comment for sure.
Yeah. No, that's why I had to unpack it for you. And I think I nailed what a Smurf's voice sounds like.
I feel like the Cardinals, though, there is some friction between Kyler and the coaching staff that may not survive this offseason.
You think?
I felt like his comments were directed at the coaches.
But it's possible. It's possible. I think that
because he kind of I felt like that's where he was going, and then he checked himself somewhat into because he didn't even really check himself with that quote, but.
Yeah,
he obviously didn't go in the full direction of where he was going.
Right. I'm sure he doesn't believe in Cliff. I've heard other people talk about how much talent is on that team. I think it's wildly overrated. If you have that much money wrapped up into Cliff and that much money wrapped up into Murray for the next couple years, what do you do? I mean, the Bills have enough money. They could definitely afford to get rid of Cliff, but with that contract, the way that it read with the study clause and everything, I think they felt forced to give him a contract. And so they're like, all right, we're going to put as much CYA into this as we can, man. I think what makes sense is at the end of this year, the Broncos trade Russell Wilson for Kyler Murray. Because I think the Cardinals would really want just an adult in the room, right? I think it's going to be difficult for him to come back to that team next year with the way that the locker room is kind of starting to look and all of that stuff. They need to find an out.
I felt like people were reading a little bit more into that sideline interaction between, I don't even know the name of the defensive lineman.
Purcell.
I thought he was in a Doug Baldwin way trying to fire up Russ.
Really?
That was my feeling on it initially.
I don't think so. And here's why. This would be the reason why I did not buy the explanation given by the two players after the fact. So you see Purcell walking, right? And Russ, he must have said something to him or said something that he overheard or something like that, because he was aiming to walk by all that. It's not like he went to seek Russ out, right? He either heard something or heard Russ say something that he stopped dead in his tracks, turned, and then beelined it to him and started yelling at him. Like, you don't do that to be like, oh, wait, maybe I'll stop by and give my quarterback a little heated pep talk. Like, it's not like he something was said that just, I think maybe.
You think he heard something that triggered him a little bit and that he was going to Russ.
I think Russ said something like, well, we're awful backed up now because of the penalty or something like that, right? And, not maybe trying to dog the guy or anything, but said it. And then as he's walking by, he's like, the fat fish, what? I backed us up because of a penalty and you're going to put this all on me? Go out there and do something. Get something done. You're being paid, however much it is, and you suck. And you're going to pin it on me for my one mistake this year? That's how that felt to me. Because he just, it was not like he was seeking him out to like kind of try to, like Doug would go and find Russ on the sideline, right? And like helmets are usually
seemed like
off.
an explanation of what's happening, or what needs to happen.
Right. Whereas this was, I'm walking by, either he said, oh, we'll get him next time, Purse, or whatever it was, right? And it set him off because he made a hard right.
I doubt that Russ would be giving him a hard time about the penalty, other than maybe to say something positive as like, hey, we're going to get that back or something that then he could have taken as a negative shot. But you just don't see Russ be negative. Like all the sideline mic'd up stuff, he's super positive at all times.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I could see how the positivity might trigger him toward heading over and just saying, yeah, let's go.
I'm 100% with you. I think it was definitely something like that where Russ said one of his corny things or, just said something to Hackett about this is the drive or who knows. Right. But I don't think it was like Russ chirping. I think it was, hey man, we'll get him next time, whatever it is. I got your back. I'll go get it. And he's like, you do? You haven't had my back all year. I haven't had any of these guys' back. And then you combine that with the Surtain interview with Sherm, right? And not that Surtain says anything specifically, but you just you get this feel like with the thing is like, they got to have it figured out now.
That's the thing. It's going so poorly this year that you read that subtext into everything surrounding Russ. I just feel like the way that everything is going this year, the hyper focus by the media is there. They could turn it into an issue for the team just based. And I think that's part of even what Pete Carroll may have had in mind as to why he leaks out these little things here and there to put the magnification on it even more.
Yeah. So I think you've got two franchises that would love to get out of the contracts that they gave out last year for vastly different reasons. And I mean,
does Russ still have a no trade clause?
Probably. I don't know.
I don't know either. Yeah.
But I mean, from Russ's perspective, this has been a giant failure in Denver. Whatever goodwill I have is gone here. Head down back to the NFC West where I have a chance to get revenge on Pete. I can go to, a city where the media coverage is a lot lesser. I'm not going to be looked at as a savior because I'm coming in as a failure, right? After this last year, they get a different coach, or maybe he makes it work with Kingsbury. Cause I mean, I think Kingsbury was always hoping to have other Russ, right?
Yeah. Because of that contract that they gave to Kyler, I could see the owner being just fine with trying with Kingsbury, but with a different quarterback. Yeah. I could see them talking themselves into that.
Yeah. Russ is everything Kyler isn't in terms of the off the field stuff, right? And his on the field leadership. And I'm sure they'd be looking for that. The Broncos are like, dude, we're not doing this for another 7 years. We're just not. So if we can make this happen, Kyler showed flashes. They're desperate.
I could see each side talking themselves into how that could work. Yeah, for sure.
Because you got to think the Walton Penner group, when they bought the team, when they handed out that contract to Russ, who do you think they were advised by?
What do you mean?
The Peyton, the GM. He definitely like told them, yeah, man, we're gonna re-sign this dude now. It's gonna be cheaper in the long run. Like, let's get it going. I mean, he's got this huge track record. And, we've got this whole team in place. I've been working really hard on this before you guys bought the team. And then to watch it all implode, I'd be getting rid of the GM. I'm getting rid of the coach.
The GM, the coach. Yeah.
And then they talked me into this quarterback that I don't necessarily want. He's just a bunch of bad press and an underperforming. He is not a rollback price kind of value quarterback right now.
Yeah, it's quite a mess in Denver. That would be the way to at least clean the slate and start over again. But I have a feeling that what they're going to do is only fire the coach and try and bring in somebody that they think can work with Russ and hope to solve the problem that way. And I don't think it will.
There's only two teams that I can think of that I would think would want to make the gamble to bring Russ into their building. I think one is the Cardinals, and I think the second is the Giants.
There we go. Sierra it's finally time. She's talked Russ into making that move to New York and going to the Giants.
Only this time, now it makes a little bit of sense because they have Dable. They're showing some signs of life, all that stuff.
What about the Jets? I mean, I guess they don't have an offensive-minded coach with the Jets, but they have the team.
What, you think that Russell Wilson's an upgrade over Mike White right now?
Mike White looked fine for one game. Give it 2 weeks.
It's hard telling, not knowing, right?
Now, Mike White can prove me wrong. I don't have that any kind of expectation that he's going to be the long-term answer.
I think he could be a 2-year answer.
I think he can be a 2-game answer, and then we're going to be back to.
I don't know that that's fair.
Look at his stats from last year from when he played. The 2 really bad games he had were against the 2 best defenses in the league.
We'll see. I'm hoping that when the Jets play the Seahawks, that it's still Mike White at quarterback.
I don't.
I would much rather see Flacco or Zach Wilson.
No, those are the backups. Those are the backups.
No, Zach Wilson isn't. He's a disgraced starter. There's a difference. And not only that, but Flacco can't move. If your pass rush has a hard time getting to people, it's a lot easier when they're a statue.
Yeah. I guess I'd probably rather face Flacco.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to see that team in a few weeks. Going to see how our draft pick goes over these next few weeks. We do have an email from the Bard. It says, "Hi, fellas. Not a good weekend for us, as we seem to have taken 2 steps backwards this last couple of weeks, as our defense allows anyone to run through it. However, I'm trolling NFL sites today, and I found the draft order for next year, and see we have moved up to number 3 thanks to those lovely Denver Broncos. Our own pick is 16, if you don't know. Number 3 should surely get us a blue-chip defender, or quarterback, depending on how we go, and that makes the Russ trade even better. I still pine for a win, though, and a wild card spot, which means we could sneak past Barry's Commanders. I live in hope. Go Hawks," from the Bard.
Yeah, we gotta do better than the Commanders just for his sake over there. John can't be dealing with Barry the Commander in all that.
No,
right?
no, we actually we need to be rooting for the Giants, I think, over these next few weeks, just for that to be the case.
I see.
Although we have the tiebreaker over the Giants, right, because of our win. So I don't know how that ends up working out. I haven't got into all the tie breaking and playoff rooting scenarios yet.
Let me
We're
know
still
when
a few
there's
weeks
2 weeks
off.
ago. Yeah, just let me know then. There's just too much that can happen.
And I still want to win the division. I think that's still in reach. But I think it is officially time to start the Seahawks draft pick watch clock, because Texans at number 1, they're 1-9-1 on the season, and they've taken their quarterback off the field. And who are they starting now at quarterback?
I didn't know they had
some other. Well, it's not Davis
they just
Mills
had
now.
Davis Mills, and that was it.
Yeah.
Everybody else was like, nah, we're good.
Yeah. Well, they're starting not Davis Mills now. So
Okay.
You have to feel like maybe they're playing for a quarterback and that number 1 pick. Number 2 right now is the Bears at 3-9.
They could win a couple more games.
There's some potential there.
Yeah.
The Broncos pick for the Seahawks at number 3 as they're 3-8. Then the Lions, who have the Rams pick, they're the Rams at 3-8. And then number 5 right now, the Panthers at 4-8. Thanks to that win over the Broncos that pushed Carolina out of the number 2 spot.
Yeah.
And now the Panthers, they only have 1 game left against a team that's above 500, and that's Seattle. So they have a relatively easy schedule with sub 500 teams. So they may not stay. They might get 6 wins this year.
You're not wrong. Also, the Broncos, they are now starting to enter the hard part of their schedule, and it does not look good for them going forward. So there's a world, I think, that isn't all that far-fetched that puts the Seahawks with the number 2 pick in the draft.
Which would be great if they, well, no matter whether or not they need a quarterback now, the first quarterback taken could go to the Texans. But having the pick of the best defensive player that they like in this draft at number 2, that's awfully appealing too.
Well, they may still have their choice of the best player in the draft at number 2, because it's not like the Texans do an amazing job of identifying and acquiring talent. So
no, even if they do have their sights on a quarterback, they may not pick the best one of the bunch.
Man, I think this year to be number 2 in the draft, it might be the greatest position to be in overall, because you have the great filter of the Houston Texans in front of you to help you discard a possible whiff of a draft pick.
And you're not wrong about the Broncos schedule either. Here it is. At Baltimore Ravens.
Lost.
Then they go back home against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Lost.
Now, they do play at the Rams, and so that could be a relatively even matchup by that time. Oh, wait. No, before that, they have the Cardinals, which I feel like the Cardinals would have a pretty good shot.
Loss.
Yeah, that's probably a loss.
It's probably a loss to the Cardinals. Rams, coin flip, and then the final 2 games at the Kansas City Chiefs, and then back home against the Chargers to close out the season, which by that time, what are you playing for?
Yeah.
It might be Brett Rippon in week 18.
Hey, man, I wouldn't mind seeing some Ripine out there. Let's see it.
Yeah, that's why that number 2 overall pick is absolutely in play. Now, what about the Bears? See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why at this point in the season, now we expected to be maybe looking at and talking draft for completely different reasons at this point. But I like that the curse has played out as well as it has so far.
Absolutely. It's put us in prime position here. The Bears, I don't know. Have they already played the Vikings twice? No, they've only played them once.
They've played the Vikings once. They still have to play the Packers again, which is their game this weekend.
Oh, they'll probably win that game just because, well, I guess we want them to win, right?
We do want them to win. Yeah, we want them to beat the Packers.
Yeah, injured Aaron Rodgers. He's going to try to give it one last go before he rides off into the Jeopardy sunset.
Then they have the bye week. And then it gets kind of tough because they play the Eagles and Bills back to back, and then the Lions, and then the Vikings. Yeah, so those last 4 games, I would expect those to be losses for the Bears.
I think they can get the Lions.
Maybe.
They can get injured Aaron. And I think there's a possibility. What's the last game?
The
Bills? Vikings?
Yeah, Eagles, Bills, Lions, Vikings.
There's a distinct possibility the Vikings are playing for nothing at that point.
And they played the Vikings relatively close within a touchdown. That game was 29-22. The Lions game was 31-30. They only lost by 1 point to the Lions the last time they faced. I still don't have much hope between the Bills and Eagles, but no. Packers and the Packers, they lost 27-10, but these teams going in different directions since earlier in the season.
What is the maximum amount of games that Denver wins going forward as long as management doesn't screw this up for us and fire Hackett?
I could see the maximum being 2 wins over the NFC West teams, or maybe the Cardinals get the win and somehow they get a win over the Chargers at the end of the season, just in a weird way.
Right.
So, but two is my answer for for the most.
Okay. So the Bears need to win 2 games.
Yeah.
And the Panthers need to win
Lions.
1 then?
Well, the Panthers, they have an easy schedule.
True.
They have multiple winnable games.
Right.
I don't think we have to worry. Now we have to worry about, I don't know, what could the Colts sneak in among those worst teams?
They have
Maybe.
3 wins? They have 4 wins.
They have 4 wins and a tie.
Oh, that really. Catfish! Yeah.
Or do we see the Saints? No, did they trade away their pick? Well, it doesn't matter. It would be whoever they traded it to. I'm just trying to think of those other teams that could sneak into the bottom there, like the Browns or.
Well, you'd have to have fewer than 4 wins at the end of the year, I think.
Yeah. And the teams with 4 wins right now are the Browns, the Steelers, the Jaguars, the Saints, the Panthers, the Packers, and the Cardinals.
Freaking Packers.
And the Rams only have 3 wins over, yeah?
Oh, and the Lions have 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it'll be interesting to see how the jockeying position goes down here over the last few weeks. I imagine this defense for the Broncos is going to shut it down at some point, and then it's over.
Well, you have to be able to score more than 16 points any given week anyway.
You would think.
So.
Yeah.
All right. What do you say we welcome our members of the flock?
Heck yeah, man. I didn't know if it was going to happen after a stupid loss.
Well, we do have one new member of the flock coming in this week. We also have our executive producers to thank: DCH, Dustin Mock, Brian Shaw, and Rebecca Christensen.
Heck yeah.
And if you want to become a member of the flock, you can go to getintheflock.com. $3 a month and above gets you into our Discord chat. 12 and above gets you into our Facebook Ring of Honor group. And 90 and above gets you a place among those executive producer names. We've got Jordan Schultz coming in at $36 annually for the year. And Jordan says, as a fellow Schultz, pardon the spelling, I've been listening to Brandon for years, but only dabbled in the Seahawkers podcast. All that changed when it was Adam's perspective on the Shelby Harris trade and the Seahawks fandom that convinced me to join the flock.
Hey.
I was worried we gave up too many assets to acquire Shelby, but the trade has been phenomenal for our team. Loving the content and the new home for all of it. As an Oregonian, I'm on team MVPino. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks, Jordan. I didn't realize that your cousins also listen to the show, but that's cool. Yeah, I mean, gave up a lot for that Shelby Harris, and everybody was pretty worried about it. Yeah.
I mean, we even got Noah Fant as part of the deal.
Yeah.
That's not a no-name player. Now, he can't chip block worth anything in the final moments of the game, but he had some pretty good catches.
He has been a solid contributor all year. The only downside to the trade so far has been Drew Lock's mustache.
I think that impacted the team enough over these past 2 games that it has to go.
And it had to have scared all children under 11 everywhere.
Movember's over, right? Like, he can legit, like, if it was a Movember mustache,
Yeah.
like, you can shave that off now and it's cool. Like, it's okay,
Yeah.
right?
Faster.
Like you're supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah. Or grow it out into a real beard. Either way, man. Either way. But whatever that was, that needs to go.
All right. So welcome to the flock to Jordan. And like I said, if you want to get in the flock, we got more space for everybody.
Hell yeah, man. The bandwagon is never full here at the Seahawkers podcast.
It's not too late to get into the Pick'em League and win prizes. I just got a bunch of autographed Seahawks photos. And I've opened up one. And let's see, who I know that one of the signed photos was a Sherman signed photo, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I want to say maybe the other one was a Fetty, so I went 50-50.
Okay.
But
Okay.
somebody might want that, a Fetty signature.
Hey, if you're an ironic hipster Seahawks fan, I'm sure there's a few of them. They have Fetty photos for you.
I know we've got some ironic hipsters in our audience.
Yeah, for sure.
Or maybe the person who finishes last. We need to come back with giving away a prize for Or at least all that we do a giveaway for the people who finish maybe in the bottom 15.
Yeah.
And you might have an Affetti prize.
Maybe if we can think about it like biggest whiff of the year, as far as like predictions or something like that.
Most false starts. And you can false start your way into a prize by coming into the Pick'em League this late.
Heck yeah, man. It's all there for the taking.
And because we missed last week, we got to take a look back at our Week 11 winner. We got 2 people finishing with 13 picks correct. We got Bison Butt Hair Sweater Inc., which I think, isn't that a real thing?
It might be.
Do we have the CEO of Bison Butt Hair in our Pick'em League?
That'd be amazing.
Could be.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Look it up. I think it's an actual thing. And we got the More Gino also with 13 picks correct. The tiebreaker going to the More Gino. So congratulations. You were the winner of Week 11.
Hey.
Week 12, we had 5 people finish with 13 picks correct. We got Kalispell MT Hawk. We've got the Sofa King. We've got Rip Dazzled Adam.
Wait, I already smell a fish. Kalispell MT Hawk. Whose plant? Which one of your plants is that you put up at the top?
No, it's not. It's one of our members of the flock from Kalispell here.
No, I think this is your daughter or something, and you fed her the pigs.
No, that's our guy Eric. Eric he's been in all season long. My daughter, come on now.
Okay, all right. I know one of your daughter's name starts with an E. So no, it doesn't. It's an I guess. All right.
No, one of them does start with an E.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. We got 3 of the 5 vowels covered, so you
true. That's true. Okay. Oh yeah. All right. Yep. Nope. Yep. You got it there. Doesn't take away from the fact that you and Eric are cheating. I know you are.
Well, I did not give Eric the win because it was the Sofa King who got the exact point total correct for the Monday night game, and therefore got the win with 13 points correct over Rip Dazzled Adam, Sea Monk 12, Rams Can Chew My Clock. That's a fun name. But yeah, those are the top 5, and the King wearing the crown.
All right. Well, I hope he enjoys ruling from his comfy throne.
But the King is in 3rd place with 115 points on the season. You got I'm Just Here So I Don't Get Fined, also tied at 115. In 2nd place, Kalispell MT Hawk. Eric there again. You know what? Eric worked his way up because I think it's been a good past 5 weeks
how
or so.
Eric worked his way up. Yeah.
Tell me all about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it could be that.
It could be. I don't know. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, no, what I'm saying is like peaceful, easily feeling like we were onto him.
Yeah.
And so I think that he conspired now with Eric.
Oh my gosh.
And is feeding Eric the picks.
Wow. The levels you will go through to get throw off the scent to your own conspiracy is amazing, man. Yeah.
Gotta try, right? Mm-hmm. All right. And then in 1st place at 118 points, my Dixon is bigger.
That feels right.
It does.
Yeah.
Do I still have the Dixon signed helmet?
I hope so.
Or did I give that out last year?
It's hard telling not knowing.
I feel like that would be, maybe I have to go find another helmet if my Dixon is bigger wins the Pick'em League this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if you were a winner of these past weeks, you can, I have the autographed Seahawks photos. I don't know if I should open those up or if I should do like a blind
like a mystery
reveal,
bag.
Yeah, like a mystery bag of them, because there's 2 and we could do like a live reveal or something if you want to be surprised.
Ooh.
That might be fun. You might end up with a Jermaine Affetti auto, but you might end up with something cool too.
Yeah, you never know, right? I kind of like it. I can work on my, Barker Beauty hands, for displaying things, right? As you pull it out.
Mm-hmm.
Pull out the photo and then you kind of, you do the thing.
I think we could do the thing, yeah.
Yeah,
I like it.
Or we still have the deal with Flathead Sports and Hobby Cards. So if you want $20 store credit toward getting the card through the shop there, let me know. And if you just want to take a look at what they have and hit them up, talk to Ben via Facebook, facebook.com/FHSH cards. And you can work out deals right through Facebook.
Well, I can tell you for certain that a $20 credit with Flathead Sports Cards is going to be a lot better than an Affetti signed photo. Could be way ahead of the game.
You can. You know what? I think you can get Tyler Lockett signed cards for around $20 right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is greatness so cheap?
I have no idea. People are sleeping on the greatness of Tyler Lockett, apparently.
Okay. All right.
I know this because I've been on the lookout for signed Tyler Lockett rookie cards.
Gotcha.
You haven't seen him pop up, or you see him pop up
Quite a bit.
I have seen them, not through the shop there, but
right.
Just through my own eBay searching.
Interesting. Okay.
And I've been able to find them. $20. There you go.
That seems like a good investment.
If not, it's just cool to have.
That's got to go up to $100 after he retires, right?
Probably, because I think we're still going to see Tyler for 3-4 good years.
Yeah, I would think so.
And then he's finishing probably in the range of number 2 receiving leader for the Seahawks.
Yeah.
I mean, until DK catches him eventually, but.
Right.
All right, well, moving on. We've got a message here from Luis from Madrid, Spain. Coming in. Luis came in through SeahawkersPodcast.com. Click the contact link. You can follow Luis on Twitter at LUICAS69. And Luis says, "Hi, guys. I got my stickers on my computer. I love them. Sometimes I think I saw a different game versus Bucks in Germany. I believe the crew commenting the game was pretty bad with low energy. The atmosphere at the stadium was colorful and brotherly, but it was not an atmosphere of people passionate and understanding of the game. For instance, their downs were not interfered by the crowd noise. The pitch was absolutely awful, and it's ridiculous that no experts could season the pitch for a game to be played. Also, the first half was so boring that it backfired the NFL promotion. NFL may say everything was wonderful, but everything was bad. It was a bad game. Also, it will take supersonic airplane industry developed to be able to open franchises in Europe, which will eventually happen. Take care, guys. Go Hawks and go Yakima Valley."
Heck yeah, man. All the way from Madrid. I definitely, one of my favorite parts of the email was I want to start working the phrase "season the pitch" into my lexicon more often, because it's a great way to put that. Yeah. Like somebody needed to season that pitch a little bit more. It needed a little more cooking. Wasn't quite done.
Not quite done. Now, the men's team, they got it done this week. I don't know if you saw that.
What are they? A men's team? Like, are they like a men's club? Or like, do they get together and like climb mountains and complain about their wives? What's this men's team you speak of?
Men's team playing in the World Cup.
Oh, okay.
It's a soccer thing that's going on right now. It's kind of a big deal, and I probably shouldn't have brought it up just based on the response that I'm getting from you right now.
Yeah. Look, if you don't want me to crap on soccer, don't bring it up.
On to do better and better at life.
Well, Brandon, my do better this week is for a longtime little flocker, an amazing human as a whole, and fellow photographer, Ron Pepper. Ron Pepper is a thief. He's a thief, and he's been stealing my material. He is the Carlos Mencia of podcasts. That's who Ron Pepper is right now. He goes on the Photo Focus podcast, which
he's a co-host of the Photo Focus podcast.
I know that much, right? Okay. Goes on there, and as their bumper going into their latest episode, I hear my good buddy, Ron Pepper, stealing my material.
So I want to say, San Francisco, do better.
There it is.
Yeah. Not only did he steal my catch line, do better, but then he's stealing my corner of making fun of San Francisco and LA. The only thing he got wrong is he called it San Francisco. If you're stealing my material, Ron, get it right. It's the Bay Area. Do better. That's how that should have been. Leave it to the professionals, Ron. I can't believe you backstabber.
I do like how you threatened him with trademark infringement, and then he responded with "see you in the San Francisco court."
Yes.
That seems right.
The balls on that guy. The balls.
Now he knows that there's no way that you're making that court appearance.
It's true fact. Touche, Ron. Called my bluff. That cracked me up to no end, man. I took a lot of glee out of that.
Well, there's no glee happening when I took a look at my do better this week. Joe Fan, former Seahawks beat reporter in Seattle, out on Twitter, polling Seahawks fans with his @Joe_fan Twitter account. And with this poll, where do you come out on this one, Adam? You can only pick one. Which would you prefer as a Seahawks fan? Playoff spot this season? Top 5 pick from Denver. You can only pick one.
But I don't. You can't tell me what to do. Joe Fan can't tell me what to do. I can definitely have my cake and eat it too, because as of right now, I'm pretty sure the Seahawks are in the playoffs, right? Or one game out.
They're now outside the playoff picture. I think the Commanders have the 7th spot at this very moment.
Right. And
season's not over.
and at this very moment, the Broncos have a top 3 draft pick, or have a top 3 draft pick to present to us. So, Joe, no, we can have it both. How dare you? But to answer your question, I'd rather go to the playoffs.
3,198 people at the point where I took the screenshot had taken this poll and chose one over the other. 77.1% selected top 5 pick from Denver. If you could only have one. This is not okay. Like,
why?
Because I could talk my way into, well, a top 5 pick. If it ends up being the number 6 pick and we go to the playoffs, that's absolutely the best outcome. Like that, a top 5 pick, whether it's top 5 or top 10, it doesn't much matter at that point. Now, I think you would have a little bit better argument if you were saying top 2, but a pick that's outside that's right inside the top 5, I'd rather go with the playoffs. And for the 77.1% that picked the top 5 pick, rather than doing the mind jujitsu of saying, well, we get the 6th pick, we go to the playoffs, that was the best option, I'm picking playoffs. To you, do better.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe that there's people out there that have the foresight to want to care about the future of the team going forward, that maybe want to win forever, like their coach does. Yeah, what terrible fans. You terrible 12s. Look yourself in the mirror.
Well, the couple different ways you can go with it are answering in the comment section below.
Okay.
I'm not answering your dumb poll. I want both.
I will have both, and thank you.
But I do appreciate the idea, because here we are now, right? Just the whole idea of we could be there. We could be in the playoffs. We can have a top 5 draft. All of that is on the table, and it's not even our own pick. Like, it's just... the question itself is wondrous, because it means everything has gone off as well as it could have to this point.
It's been the best possible outcome. I'm enjoying it very much. On to Better at Life.
Well, speaking of things that I enjoy very much, my Better at Life than Skip Bayless this week, Brandon, is for our Seattle Seahawks, buddy. Our organization, this amazing football program that we all cheer and love. They have made a decision.
Throwback uniforms.
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening. I am so excited for the throwback uniforms next year, Brandon. And they're choosing the right era to do it from too. The 90s ones were dope. Those were super dope freaking jerseys. I am so excited to see the silver helmets. Thank you, NFL, for pulling your head out of your ass on your stupid helmet rule that had no purpose whatsoever other than making sure the franchises don't all turn into Oregon. But oh my gosh, man, when I saw the news, and their little hype video was fun too, like, because it had all the good 90s stuff from Seattle, the colors, the way this team is going to look in that uni next year as they're going to the Super Bowl. Oh my God, it's going to be amazing. Seattle Seahawks, better at life than Skip Bayless.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they debuted the video for all the fans inside the stadium before we got to see it outside the stadium. So they kind of rolled it out in a cool way. And for those of you who got to attend that game, and yeah, I could not be more excited for those throwback uniforms. It was my Better at Life too.
Oh, really? That's interesting. See, this is the funny part about not prepping together at all for any of this. Like, I knew that was going to be my do better. And I was like, oh man, I hope he doesn't bring it up throughout the whole thing. Cause if he does, I don't really have a backup. So I hope he just doesn't talk about it. Like, and as we got close to the finish, I was like, ooh, I might actually get to it. And then I had the fortune of going first. So suck it. What do you got?
I'm taking Co Better at Life. This is what we're doing.
Oh, perfect. All right.
Or okay. Look, if you're gonna make me choose,
no,
my Better at Life this week is for our members of the flock at $12 and above. We haven't thanked them all month. I think we forgot to thank them back in October. So let's do it now. Let's give them thanks and the Better at Life.
Double thanks.
Keith Ketover, a.k.a. Flocktimus Prime, University of Cybertron, Little Flockers, roll out.
DCH from Sparks, Nevada, the University of Montana Grizzlies.
Eric Trench, rooting for the Seahawks out of Renton, Washington, graduated from Eastern Washington University.
Jameson Holman from Murray, Utah, representing Mississippi State University. Hail State and go Hawks.
Gary Blum from Chappaqua, New York, and the University of Pennsylvania, your 2016 Pick'em League champion.
Ron Pepper, UNLV Runnin' Rebels, San Francisco, California.
This is Hawk Van Dyke from the beautiful city of London and the capital of the UK.
Ella Esparza, Woodway, Texas, Yale University, and Sam Houston State, Eat 'em Up Cats.
Lisa in Seattle.
Samuel Gelber, NoHo, California.
David Van Cleve, Camas, Washington, home of the Papermakers.
Leo Jose, Luleå, Sweden, from Luleå Eskimos and Renkommaren front.
Paul from San Diego.
Aaron Fisher, a.k.a. Lock It and Put It in Your Pocket, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Chris Boucher, a.k.a. the biggest little flocker, South Central Louisiana State University. Go Mud Dogs.
Hey Seahawkers, my name is Darrell Taylor. I live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, North Idaho. Hashtag on the Rose. Go Hawks.
Continuing on down the list, you heard from our executive producer, DCH. Also, thanks to our executive producers, Dustin Mock, Brian Shaw, and Rebecca Christensen. Also, a thanks to Christina in Manassas, Virginia, Craig in Camas, Roe in Federal Way, James in Linwood, Sven in Berlin, Deutschland, Jake in Seattle, Jeremiah in the Bronx, Tim in Austin, Christian in Oslo, Norway, Kathy in Eureka, California, Jonathan in Ridgefield, Brandon in Huntersville, North Carolina, James in Beaux Arts, Pepper in Greenville, South Carolina, Kevin in Onaway, Idaho, JC in Horsford, England, Jay in Linwood, Jeffrey in Kansas City, Kari in Rochester, Brian in Berlin, Connecticut, Connie in Gothenburg, Sweden, Tracy in Kaneohe, Hawaii, Ewolf in Seattle, Kevin in Surrey, BC, Marvin in Riverdale, Utah, Glenn in Ocoee, Florida, Dean in the Greater Hockdom, John C. in the Greater Hockdom, John in New York, Patrick in Sacramento, Bryson in Eltopia, Jeremy in Federal Way, Josh in Candor, New York, Ken in Hutto, Texas, Mario in Seattle, Cora in Dittersteutschland, Anders in Viola, Denmark, Warren in Dundee, Oregon, Chris in Austin, Brian in Omak, Jeff in Bainbridge Island, Amy in Squim, Marlon in the Greater Hockdom, Richard in Killeen, Texas, Joseph in Vancouver, Dr. G in League City, Texas, Corey in Ridgefield, Kevin in Great Glen, England, Kyle in the Greater Hockdom, Ryan in Salt Lake City, Joshua in the Greater Hockdom, Norma in the Greater Hockdom, Alexander in Oanjenburg, Deutschland, Jamie in Oswestry, England, Chris in Billings, Montana, Rafe in Beaverton, Oregon, DJ in Menifee, California, Eugene in Henderson, Nevada, Daniel in Post Falls, Idaho, Terrence in Seattle, Jerv in Bristow, Virginia, Spooty Poo in Olympia, Tim in Olympia, Jason in Panama City, Florida, Terry in Vancouver, BC, Jeff in Gilbert, Arizona, Chad in Lexington Park, Maryland, Bridget in Redmond, Ryan in Crestview, Florida, Gordon in Valdez, Alaska, Kayla in Vancouver, Tanner in Kalispell, Montana, Ryan in Fairbanks, Nate in Solna, Sweden, BB in Oakland, Sean in Cascade, Iowa via Kalispell, Montana, Leland in South Jordan, Utah, Jason in Portland, Ovary Smasher 69 in Phoenix, Corey in Robertson, Australia, Daniel C. in the Greater Hockdom, Ewalls 22 in New York, Russell in Harpenden, England, Jay in Fairbanks, Sam in Alamonte Springs, Florida, Chris in Manchester, England, Logan in Evansville, Indiana, Stephen in Irvine, California, Mike in Somerville, South Carolina, Mark in La Mirada, California, Charles in Spokane, Adrian in Squim, Jonathan in Newmarket, England, John in East Kilbride, England, David in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Ranger Luke in Olathe, Kansas, William in Los Angeles, Naked Bootleg in Stanwood, Brian in La Center, Darren in Chelmsford, England, Edward in the Greater Hawkdom, Mike in Kelowna, BC, Dystopian Dad in Bremerton, Jake in Denton, Texas, and Stu in Navarre, Florida. A huge thanks to all of our members of the flock who came in these past months at $12 and above. Yes, thanks to those of you. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving holiday because we missed you last week. And hope you have a happy holiday season going forward as well. And hope you have a happy draft pick watching season as we get to watch the Broncos go into the toughest part of their schedule, and a happy Seahawks root for the playoffs season as we get to watch our team hopefully blow over the Rams twice and the 49ers once on the way to an NFC West title.
Heck yeah, man. Let's go out there and steal their fucking souls.
And with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Catfish the Rams.